So this first one will be going over my 10 projects shortly, and then I will focus on my property design project more in details, deeply. Yes, and I'm doing my projects for already 5 years, and I'm so happy to go so far and to demonstrate them today for you all. It's a long journey. Thank you. So this is the little overview about all of my projects. This is the titles of them, but maybe it's too far for you to read of them. I will start with the first one. This was mainly a workshop where I introduced the local society and people who wanted what is permaculture. Actually, Thomas did that. I invited also others to participate in that. And the workshop was focused on forest gardening, to develop that. And also a bit about building. But the main thing, I think, was about social and education, just to come all the people together and introduce them. What is permaculture, how it looks like. And it happened on, and this is a kind of title for each of my projects. There is like main detailed information. This is the location. On top corner, you can see this is the Latvia, very small map, but at least this is on very top corner. That's where is my family's property. And this is here, Kolka, actually quite close to Estonia, but from different side to the Saaremaa. Here you can see there is this site of my property, the location, and there main of the actions happened on this workshop. We prepared soil for the forest garden. We demolished the old fish smoking hut and started to build new one. Then we also created biochar pit on that on those 2 days, and there was also some lectures. And there also was one visit of other site nearby, the village Mazirbe, where is living on that time there were living Anitra Toma, and she also were practicing permaculture, and she showed her experience. And here you can see people, the team on the left, and on the right there is numbers of participants who were participating. And just pictures of how it went out. And here I would like to say what I learned from this project shortly. Open property for permaculture events is fun, at least that's my experience after this. I gain larger support for further permaculture activities from my family, because that was a completely new thing also for them. Interest was larger than ability to offer the space for participants. And I think it was because in our place there is very poor sandy soil, and that was a good attractor. Good party preparation ensures smooth and great event. That was what I noticed. People really like to put on hands into the process, and better learning happens through the doing than talking. And it is good to have plan B for other things to be done faster than expected, and great to have 2 parallel activities, one more for women and another for men, as it was in this case. Forest gardening more attracted women to participate, and construction work, building work, there most of the men were participating, but it was not like, it was not told to be like that, but that's what I noticed. The families like done in such way that both partners has something to be done on the process. Yeah. Then my next project was to create hugelbed. This is the location, the same. This is on my family's property. And here you can see the pictures before and after. At least I made something similar, like little snake there. Yeah, I cannot show with the arrow, but you see on the map where it is. And yeah, here are the pictures of the process, starting from here, and then how it looks almost finished. And then this is the harvest after that year. I planted their pumpkins, and they grow really wildly. They liked a lot. And what I could say about this, what I learned from this project, it is physically demanding work to create a hugel bed. Better to organize event with others, other person participation, then it happens faster, and again, it's more fun. It is super important to heavily water all the layers, otherwise the element is not working and it is waste of energy. Regular mulching is second most important to keep hugel bed working properly. Better to add grass clipped mulch several times during the season, and especially at the beginning and at the end of the season. Every 3 till 4 years, the hugel bed requires addition of new compost layer, and it is good to add layer of clay powder, especially in the sandy soils. It helps to keep water in the hugel bed better. And best time for hugel bed creation is autumn. Then all the necessary materials are easier available. It helps also to accumulate moisture into the hugel bed better. The third project was done in New Zealand. I spent there 3 months, and 1 month especially spent in this Kahitea farm. And the owner is also practicing permaculture, and that's also the lifestyle of them, and they make income from this way of living. And I really wanted to see how it is possible, because in our country not yet is fully going on. This is the location. Kahitea farm is on North Island, close to the Hastings, the biggest city. And here it's very small, but I hope you can see. This is the property. Here, that's the border of the property. And this is the spot where I developed lemon guild, or designed the lemon guild. I did not have time there to realize that project in practice, but at least I made a design and studied what is needed. This is the location in front of the living house there. The owners wanted to have this lemon guild. That's my sketch. Around here, 1 lemon tree and another one. And originally there was idea to have also the fig, but then we canceled because it takes too much space later when it's grown up. And we skipped that. And then I spent a lot of time to study what could be the companion plants for the lemon, because they are not growing naturally in Latvia. So I needed to spend time for that to study. And what I could tell about this project, what I learned, it takes a lot more time to introduce self with conditions of new plant species, environment and climate interactions, as well as proper companion plants to find. And I was lucky that I selected location where owner was very educated and had a lot of relevant literature to make the project design realistic. However, I missed the time, yes, as I told, to realize that in practice. Then my next project is hay mattress. I really love to sleep in the hay. And then I wanted to, I thought how I could bring this nice feeling also in my flat, for example, in Riga or somewhere else. And I thought that's more natural than those usual mattresses, what we can buy on the shops and on which we usually sleep on. And as well, another reason is because I'm working with natural grassland protection and storing. And the problem is nowadays where to use the hay, because there is grasslands a lot, but the owners don't keep any more animals. And then what to do? Why then cut the grass? And one of my ideas was, okay, maybe we can try to create hay mattresses. There are some pictures of the process. I started with a hay collection using site, designing, sewing, and filling with the hay, and that's the result. And what I learned from this project was that it was easier than I thought. Good that I have my mom as an experienced advisor for sewing. Mattress actually is quite heavy, in the end, that's why it's not very easy to move it around, but it's possible. Better to fill it with the freshly collected dry hay to be sure that any mold is not spread into the hay. Hay should be changed after some time, therefore better to make the mattress with zipper, as I did it for second version of the mattress. Everyone who had tried to sleep on the mattress liked it, and grass cutting with the scythe is nice physical activity without making noise, as every land mower is doing nowadays. At least in my village, in weekends, all around is singing lawn mowers. I don't hear so much birds than land mowers around. Not land, but lawn mowers here. Then I'm skipping the Fifthus project. That will be later. But because in 2017 my dad passed away, and then a year later my grandmother, graveyards came in my life. And when came the time when we needed to make their graves afterwards nicely looking, I realized that actually the grave, at least according Latvian traditions, is nothing else than raised bed. So why I could not bring permaculture in graveyard then? And another thing, what I realized that while I'm doing my daily job as a biologist, I noticed that many graveyards around out of their fences, there is escaped plants from the graveyard, and sometimes they make problems because they are invasive ones, or at least if they are not invasive ones, it means that they grow very well. That's why then I need to buy some new plants. I just take those which are skipped out and bring back. And one of that one was this lesser periwinkle. Probably you have seen as well them in Estonia here. The pictures maybe are a bit bad, but this is the example where the plant is run out of the fence of the graveyard. Originally, there is the map where the plant is naturally distributed, not natural for Latvia. And the projects were done, the location, again, very close where is my family's site, Kolka, and also in Kolka's graveyard and in Pitrak's graveyard. That's the village which is not far from Kolka. And this is my result. At first it looks like that, then how it looks after I planted there this escaped lesser periwinkle. Not super successful because in my opinion the plant needed more maybe mulch and not so much sun, because it's super dry during the summer there. But this was my result. And then another, what I thought, I am not ready as my grandmother so frequently, like every weekend go and take care of these graves. So I thought maybe it would be nice to plant there very beautiful local plants, native ones, which are not making troubles, and they are flowering at some time, and it looks nice. And then I did some study and searched these plants, which would grow in sandy conditions, because usually graves with a lot of sand, at least in Latvia. And these are what I found. And then what I did for my grandmother, I collected in abandoned old fish factory area, growing this golden moss stone crop, this yellow flowering plant, 2 varieties, and this is how it looked. And for my father, I selected the wild thyme, but the cultivated version, because it has more like reddish blossoms. And my mom wanted such version, not the very natural one, but it could be the wild thyme as well used there. And once I learned from this project, if I use native plants that grows in sandy soil, no need to bring compost for planting. Actually, I brought, but there was no need for that. Graveyard beds, yeah, that's what I told. Graveyard beds are real raised beds. Why not treat them as such? Planting native plants later potentially can have a challenge to control because they like these conditions and then they jump out of the beds. So that's the only thing what you then need to take care. Yep. Yeah. that's what I could shortly tell about this project. Then the herb spiral is the next project. This I did in completely different side of the Latvia. Yeah, for my friends, their family. Okay, it's near the Jēkabpils. It's over there. If I'm usually there or Riga, then it's on other side of country, in different, a bit different conditions and environment. And again, there is the picture how it looked before and after. Some pictures from the process and the result after those 2 days. And what I can tell about this, the best time for herb spiral creation, in my opinion, is May in Latvia. It is project for 1 person per 3 days, but more fun to do it in team of few persons. Then it can be easily done within 1 day. It is a great project to do with the kids. They like to participate, observe, and join, especially in planting part. Great permaculture project for beginners, I think so as well. It takes small space, looks nice, and it's practical and not very demanding. Then next project was about seed saver exchange point. I developed 2 ones in the village of Kolka. Another one is in next biggest village, Dundaga. And this is, I think, pure social project. And that's why I wanted to describe a bit these different societies living in Kolka and Dundaga. Kolka is more open to new ideas and Dundaga is more conservative. And it's depending of the people, because in Dundaga there are living like very locals. But in Kolka there is more people who are settled there from somewhere else and not living for all their life there in that village. And that's what I realized also about the results of this project. And I'm quite thankful for these persons because they are librarians of Dundaga and Kolka. And thanks to them, I can keep these seed saver points open all the time. They took care daily because I'm not all the time there. And here is what I did. I helped to prepare these materials for seed saving points. Seed saver points at this 2021. That was the first year where seed saving points were opened in several places in Latvia. And I was that person who helped to develop these materials for this seed saving activity to spread. And yeah, those are the seed boxes, the materials, posters. Yeah. And what I learned from this project is that thanks to COVID silence of new activities, 2021 was one of the best timing to open seed exchange points and reach higher interest of journalists, society, because there were lack of positive news. Local communities that contain more inhabitants from other regions or countries are much more open to new offers and activities such as this seed exchange action. To find new heritage seeds, better works better works that option to find personal contact with the locals who might have such seeds. Active, not passive advertisement through people to people works better. With passive advertisement, I mean just post news on the Facebook or newspaper or homepage. Libraries are good place where to locate the seed exchange points because there is librarian that can take daily care of the seed box and locals are visiting the site. And if once the seed box of all the materials are prepared, the work for the next year is much less to open it again. And it is wise to spend time for proper advertisement every year to keep the seed point alive and flourishing, but it takes time to find the best way for each community. And one thing more, it is good to have a garden where the seed exchange coordinator can at least few plants, especially heritage plants, grow for seed production, because most of those who take the seeds, they doesn't bring them back. Then last but not least project was about wood pallet compost bin, and that was my only real building project. Yeah, and it again was done for my other friends who are living um, on coastal area, but another part of Latvia. It's over there, the dot. And the site what we selected together for the wood pellet creation was here behind the barn. On another side, there is this vegetable garden for them, where the wastes from the garden can be composted, and then the composted soil can go back to that close by. Here are the pictures of the process and the results. Those top ones are the final result, and there's some sketch and pictures of the working process. And what I learned from this, it's crucial to discuss any project in detail with all involved persons in the project, and better in presence to ensure satisfaction of the project, no matter if they are your friends. And I did a bit mistake in this case. I did not discuss everything with all of them. So I had some discussions on the process. If all necessary materials are having, if all necessary materials are having an argument on construction details done and site prepared, the construction takes around 2 hours work by 3 skilled persons. Practical workshop on of construction of compost bin from wooden pallets require no more than 4 persons, having them constantly involved in the process. Autumn is good timing to create the compost bin because then there is need the most where to place organic material. Garden waste, for example, and less discussed project increases time spent into negotiations during the creation process. But if there are more involved and topic experienced persons, it can be fruitful study for all to learn opinion integration, not segregation during that process. And the last one, I translated Food Forest Grain from English to Latvian. And I needed to adapt because not all of the plants, for example, are not familiar here in our climate. And I could not find them even sold somewhere. That's why I looked for some good alternatives. That was one. And the biggest aim was that I looked for the already existing tools which would help people to learn better permaculture, and then searched on the internet and I found this Food Forest game. I actually have today with me that version if someone wants to see on the English version. Because this project is one which is not totally completed, I prepared everything for next steps. I have translated, I have asked help from artists to make a nicer design. But first of all, I want to show the difference, what I told why I needed to adapt the game. And I also contacted the author, Carl Treen, whether he allows to do that and what he thinks. And I was super thankful to him that he supported to go on with this project and idea. And this is where the game was developed originally for United States, and that it's the same climate zone, but still the plants are different. And this is the original design of the cards. There are more than 60 for the game. And it's good, but I thought that there could be some improvement when I tried the game. So I skipped some elements which were not functioning in the games. And I asked this artist, Johanna Lohengel, to help me to make them nicest as a view. And I think I like this result, what she proposed. She just made the design for 3 cards as an example, but then if the game would be needed to produce in reality, then for sure it's much more work for her. And then it's just example of translation work. This is just one instruction for there could be played several games. This is just one example, the original text, and then everything what is translated to the Latvian. And here is just one example how I turned some of the cards. This is an American hog peanut. There is not even a name for this plant in Latvian. and this is nitrogen fixing plant. And what I did, I tried to keep all of the functions, inputs, outputs, and zonation as well, because there is included in the game this zonation principle. Just looked for some native plant, or at least someone gardening plant, which is common in our country or in our climate. And yeah, and what I learned from this project that, for example, there is one card swales. I guess you know what is the swales. It's quite, there is need to have proper name in Latvia. We don't have it. And I started to collect the best versions for it, but I think it should be further consulted with Latvian Language Center, because it's too complicated as far as, yeah, not so easy to make for myself this decision, what would be the best option according to your language. I was super glad and thankful to receive such a support answer from the game author Carl Treen to make the Latvian version of this game. I'm proud to make the game so far ready for the further discussions to become real, but firstly I want to present this as the diploma project for you, and then I can invest more time to find the funding and to make it real, if there will be enough interest of it. And what personally I learned new plants that are not common in our climate, and it was interesting to look for the good replacement options with similar functionality, zoning in our climate. And it was not so easy to find so many nitrogen fixation fixators as they have in that part of the globe, I think so. Yeah, that's my short presentation. Yeah, I don't know how much time I took over, but and actually, if you want, during listening my next, you can have a look. There is printed versions of all the circles and around and looking in more into details. No, and now I will change the presentation. So, for this one? Oh, not 1 hour, not more. Yeah, for that one I will try to. Yeah. Look at it. Screen. Shutdowns. Here it is. That. I need to make it. Screen. Viņš nerāda man tagad divus ekrānus. Nezinu. Šito vienu. Nopistīšu. Tā. Ok, tur ir prezentācija normāli. Helga. Tagad būs. Okay. So I wanted to present as my biggest project this designing project. That's obligatory project for diploma, at least one in my case to present property design project for some place. And I started to do it in 2020. And actually it took 2 years, but it could be done faster because I had one serious difficulty, but I will mention that later. So it's not okay. my motivation actually why I selected also to present you this project as my biggest one is one reason, because in my opinion it is that project which contains all of the permaculture principles. Others, there were less of them. This one had the most. And another thing is that I would really like in the future, maybe some other people in my country or maybe somewhere else, we will see, to help develop their permaculture designs for their properties potentially. And why in Latvia? I see that it could be, there is space for that, because a lot of Latvians, most of them are living in cities, but a lot of them still belong properties in the countryside, inherited or bought. And while they spend the most of their week in the cities, and then they are going to their properties for resting in weekends, but then there is kind of difficulty to find a balance, because they would like to rest in, and in that same time, those properties require maintenance, and it takes a lot of energy. And I see the permaculture could be one of the way how to find a way how to save their energy to maintain, at least for the gardening, and maybe also for the buildings as well. Yeah, to save their energy and to enjoy more their time on their properties during the weekends, for example. Yeah, and the Brisgu family actually was good example for this, because they are spending their daily life working at Riga mostly. They have 3 kids, not fully grown, but they bought several years ago property in the countryside, and their wish is to use this property for relaxation for them and produce some vegetables for their own consumption. But they realized that they have some difficulties to find the good solution where to start, focus their energy to maintain their property. And that was one of the main reasons why they were quite open when I offered them that I could create them this design project, because they saw that maybe it will make their family life calmer with less arguments in between them, which would be the right decision. Where should start with some maintenance work, where should start to build something, and yeah, in which order to do that. And yeah, but for me personally, another reason was that this property is, again, not close to my Kolka place, but in other conditions that I can learn and train my observation skills in different place. And yeah, and it was good that I didn't have specific time frame defined by the family. I could take my own time to develop this project. So why it's not going on? Hello. Okay. Yeah, there is the location, the maps. So the site is very, I would say, quite kind of remote. It's 2-hour drive away from Riga. It's here, and it's in between, like in a triangle of 3 local cities around. It's around 23-30 kilometers away from each of it, and reachable by gravel road. This is the climate. Here you can see the white dot is the place where the property is placed, and comparison with the climate according the whole climate in our country. So the winters there are stronger and longer. The snow cover there stays longer there, for example, in Mykolka, where there is the years where there is almost no snow cover. Then summers also are a bit milder than in central part of Latvia, and the annual rain amount is about 700 millimeters. And this is the terrain map. And what is interesting as well for me, because I'm living totally in coastal line of the sea, this is the point where there is that's the highest region in our country. Even it's not very high, but the climate is different. It's more continental, as I told, and it's just 10 kilometers away of our highest peak or point in our country, which is Gaiziņkalns called. And exact above the sea level of the property is around 200 meters. Here you can see closer borders of the property. That's how it looks on the terrain map. So it's not very not equal. How to say? Like there is some bit highest points and lowest points. It's not very like flat in one elevation. And then here it's digital surface model of the property, and as you can see, it's quite open space, at least on the property. Most of it's the land is agriculture land, and there is no forests. But then on this side there is river Savīte, which is during the Soviet times partly ditched and straightened, and just few patches of trees and bushes, and mostly around where the yard is and the buildings are. This is soil map of Latvia, and yeah, that's again where the property is located. And the soil is podzol soil, which is something between sandy loam or loamy sand, with some clay particles there as well. The area of the property is 10 hectares. And here you can see the view on the property in 2018. Most of the area was permanent grassland, but then bigger changes happened on 2 years later when the owner decided that they would like to expand. Yeah, I think expand is the right name. The pond, you see there is the pond. There was small version before of it, and then they digged bigger one. And then they rented this area, the agriculture land, what they belonged to neighbor, and the rule was that he maintained it as the biological agriculture land. And I always like, if I have chance to look on the site, how it looks in the history, because it also helps to understand why it is so looking nowadays. And this is the map, not very sharp, but from around Second World War period, and you can see that the landscape around was even more open than it's today. There is just few forest patches, and what is else interesting, that the road is nowadays going here on this part, but in past it crossed the property and went on the other side of it. And nowadays it's not very easy noticeable, but there is still some remarks of this road. And also there is left a lot of ruins from this past times when there were much more buildings. Today there is not so much. Then I will not pay so much to all of these permaculture principles, but if you will have questions, I have also a section to describe. I think, otherwise I would repeat some of my story, but I can focus later if you ask on that. Here is just a list of existing elements on the property, but I think I will talk about them a bit later when I will show on the maps. And here is the vision of the property. Owners told that this property for them is as a summer house, mainly with this garden. And as I told, it functions them as the place for resting for their family and with their friends. And the garden is a source for their seasonal vegetables and fruits to consume them fresh or prepare for the winter. And here are the list of the elements, what they told that they would like to have. And then I also asked them whether there is some problematic issues, what they know, with what they would need to deal, or I could help find some solutions. These are the resources, like me as a designer and the family. Here you can introduce with them yourself. And then there is list of materials. Actually, for designing, there is very few materials needed. Just can survive with paper and pencil, but I used also software because I have access to ArcGIS software and I like to make maps. So I used this for this project a lot. Then I just needed car and petrol to drive and observe the site. Yeah, that's the main things. And also I use GPS system to take coordinates of each element, what is there, especially the plants, what are existing on the property. It helped me to produce those maps more accurate. And here you can see also the time, the main points on the timeline. Firstly, I met on the March of 2020, where I wanted to interview them to understand what are their aim of the property of each family member. I asked the questions, what they want to do with the property, what is missing for them, what they want to develop there. And also I asked what has been done there and such things, and what are the resources there. And then in the May, at the end of the May, I visited the site with the family. We walked through all over that property. And then we had several meetings online because that was COVID period. Yes, and then happened big thing. My hard drive crashed and I lost almost all the materials of this project. And it stopped me for a while because I needed to take over this loss and find new motivation, start again to document everything. And that's why I don't have any pictures taken from by myself. The only pictures what I have added are what the family members shared with me later. And so there is the result. This is the zone planning for the property. There are all the zones included. This dark one is this zone 5, left for the nature. Then, yeah, this is the living house, zone 0. This is the area zone 1, where most of the activities daily happens. This is the pond, and pond is included in zone 2. And then there is quite big area of zone 3, which is this arable land. And a little of zone 4. This is the area where they have spot of natural grassland, where they can pick up some medicinal plants, but otherwise they don't use a lot this area. Leave it for nature. And here are the places where I later suggested them where they can collect some wood for fire, because there grows willow trees, and when you cut, they grow quickly back. So it's nice option to use them for that purpose, because they don't have any forest and where the property could otherwise provide this resource. This is the same zone map, and here you can see the living house, how it looks, and the barn, the big barn. Those are the two main existing buildings, and those are some ruins left from previous times. I drew also the old road, and this is a big barn which has been in the past, but now it's sealed over, and there is also almost no remarks left. And this is maybe sauna has been there, but they don't have like documented information about that. But I think so that is there because there is the river, and this is the area which sometimes in springtime can overflood. And here is zone map, and on it you see all of those little dots. Those are different kind of already existing trees, berry bushes, decorative bushes. This green one is row of apple trees, which functions as a windbreaker as well. It's very dense. Yeah, some red currants and some other windbreaker rows. And then this is the sector planning. This is the highest spot of the property. It's a bit like so sloped, so there is a lot of sun actually. And this is the lowest spot where, yeah, and it's the area which could flood in the springtime. And then the yard is on a bit like little hammock or hill, small one, and there is another one, and then there is some other bit lower point. And then I found a way how I could figure out which are the most shadiest areas. I just took several orthophoto maps, and some of them are taken in the morning and some of them are taken in the evening, and I can see shadows there. And then I just drove around the polygons around them, and when I overlap, then I can see easily that actually there is so many trees planted around the living house that it's almost the most shadiest area of the property. Yeah. And in similar way, it's maybe not the best proper version, but then I thought, okay, if I know which are the biggest objects on the property, and if I know the most dominant wind direction, then I can draw a bit the areas which are a bit more protected from the wind. But actually what the owners told, it is so that it's super windy actually, this area. It's very exposed. And yeah, this wind is, they did not tell that it's kind of big problem for them, but it's the thing what is there. And this is the kind of master plan. There is all of the elements what were and the new what I suggested for them. And now I could try to explain what is there. So I will start with this bigger one and then focus on that. These are the areas where is this willow trees. So it's the firewood option for them. This is the pond, and then coming to here. Okay, this is the living house. This blue thing is already existing earth cellar under the house, but it has some problematic issues because there is a bit water leaking. But otherwise, it's quite big and it could be very well used for production storage. Then this one is area which is meant to be terrace. They would like to have it on a south direction, and it will be kind of resting area. On this yellow area is marked as a decorative garden, especially because of the resting area. And the next, okay, this is the one food forest area, and this is another one. They want to have more fruits. And that's the option where I see it's not part of the building, and here is already some of the fruit trees, so they were happy to extend also these areas. This is the spot where they have the drinking water well. They pump it to the house. These three blue dots are rainwater collectors from the building for watering this area and for here, because this is the herb spiral and raised beds. And this is the barn. And barn is divided in 4 sections. This first one is meant to be a place where is shower, laundry, and tool storage place for housekeeping, mainly not for just works in garden, but for housekeeping. This small one is the woodshed attached to the barn, the wall of the barn. This green one is workshop room under the roof where you can do some practical things under the roof when what is needed for the property. This is garage where to store the car when they arrive, and also lawn mower and some tools as well. And this one is guest apartment because they thought it would be nice, for example, when they when kids come, for example, with my friends, then they have a split area where they can spend their life and the rest of the family are not disturbing them. This one is ramped to the second floor of the barn, but there is some problems they cannot access yet because there is a hole in between. It's not, it should be rebuilt, but at the moment they don't see a very special purpose for what to use the second floor, so it can stay for some time when they decide that it's needed, because nothing wrong could happen with this ramp because it's from stone built. Everything fine. This is the problematic issue. This is slurry pit, because in the past this whole barn was used for cow farming, and actually barn is not in a very good condition. And this side there is actually a really big hole in the wall, and there has been used for machinery repairing tractors or something. So, but this slurry pit, it's made in concrete, and it's not needed anymore. So they didn't know what to do with this element. But I also, spending time for this diploma, I could not find a good solution for that. So we decided, okay, maybe future we will be more smarter, and they will come with this solution. This is the point where graywaters are collected, and they wanted to have grey water purification system. So these are 3 ponds, and there is slope a bit going down, way how to purify this grey water, what they make, and it's not a big amount because they are not daily there. Then this is the place where they have fire, and then I suggested them to have outdoor kitchen, because there is the vegetable garden, there they have fishes in the pond. They wanted to have fish smokery, especially one of the kids, because he really likes to cook. And also it's a nice spot where to spend some chilly evenings. And if there is rain, you also have a roof above you, and you can continue to process some food from the garden or from the pond, and then carry later to the living house or the first solar. These yellow dots are electricity access. This is the spot for greenhouse. What I suggested, they had some improvised version here attached to the barn, but it was not enough. And I like this spot because it's sunny and it's close to the water access to maybe from the pond. This is the place for vegetable garden. It's in such space shape because they plough it by tractor at the moment. And here I introduced to have snack paths, because this would be a spot for sauna. And while you're going to the sauna, you can pick some berries from these snack bushes. And this is the bridge over the pond. That was being what they wanted, just observe and enjoy the landscape around the pond. This is the place what I suggested for for outdoor toilet. They had one over the slurry pit, but it was not practical because then you need to go around the barn, and it's far away from the central part of the yard. So I placed here because then it's easily reachable. Here is outdoor kitchen, vegetable garden, sauna, and they have compost toilet also in the buildings. They don't need it here. But here it's a good spot, hidden a bit around some bushes what is here. This is compost garden. They don't have place, at least they didn't have at that moment place where to compost compost the things. And I suggested to make a bit around the windbreaker for to stabilize the microclimate for the composting, because here are those winds accessing the direct winds to protect them a bit. Yeah, and this is the place for composting human manure. They have the compost toilet. They need to compost somewhere that gives manure. And these green lines are wind shelters, not shelters, wind breakers. This is the existing one. This I suggested also as a way just to divide area between agriculture land, especially if there is guest apartment, and a bit make denser here near the road, protect from dust coming from the environment. That's the things, all the elements. And that's the same, just zone mapping under the elements. Here again, all the elements and my descriptions of their functions. This is the list of existing elements. And these are the description for new elements. I'm not going very detailed through them, but because I mostly explained them already. And I like the idea to illustrate them, those new elements, because even they are aware what is permaculture, just to have better understanding what I mentioned with these elements, and maybe to get their own some feeling about that. And this is kind of images how it could look the barn house, all of these 4 sections, what I told, this tool shed, laundry and shower room, then this garage and workshop space. And because there is this big hole in the north wall of the barn, I also like that maybe they can keep it because it brings more light in. And yeah, this is kind of example for that. There are some examples for woodshed, smoking house, so their kitchen, greenhouse, the little bridge, outdoor compost toilet and human manure compost, the water purification system with the ponds, forest garden, and the sketch of the how works windbreakers. And what I mentioned, they also mentioned that there is deers coming and wild coming. Be aware that to share also harvest with them, and maybe direct where you want to have share with the food more, and maybe where less. And also think about how to cooperate with soil inhabitants to have better harvest. And do not forget about pollinators and birds around. We also discussed that, and this is how I checked whether I have kind of created self-sustainable system for the main resources. I draw this to see how they are connected, all the elements, whether they are on the place and is there something missing or not. So this is the cycle of water for drinking needs. The same, but for gardening. And then water comes from the pond and from rain collector, and which are the resources coming out for each of the need, and how it's connected with the human needs later. And the same with the vegetables, where comes the products, and where goes the waste afterwards, and then become again as the fertilizer for the garden afterwards when they are processed. And a bit the same for fruits, but fruits is that where human compost can be used as the fertilizer, not so much for the vegetables. It's not recommended. That's why it's a bit different, but the same as the vegetables. Vegetable cycle, and then food cycle. And here, because the willow bushes maybe are not enough for every year, that's why there is a bit need from outsourced resource for that. And then as well for compost toilet, it's good to have sawdust, but probably it will not be enough with willow sawdust. So it is the resource what comes from the outside for them. But otherwise, it seems that there is, if they realize this project totally, could be quite a self-sustainable system for them. And just a little bit, I also, so it's about time. Okay. Then, I was thinking about the diversity. What are the elements? What supports the diversity for the wild, and also keep diversity of the elements? So for that is zone 5, and also zone 3 functions as a biological farming. That's the big thing, actually. Not all of them are And that's actually what the family by themselves define, that it's very important for them. There is really a good plant diversity already, but there is space where to improve it. And also diversity of the element functions. Most of the elements, what I suggested, they have more than one function. And yeah, and talking about natural succession, at least in conditions in Latvia, if someone is left for nature to do only the nature's work, then everything will turn out as a forest mainly. And that's why to live without any other maintenance, the natural succession would be the main working for food forest or for producing firewood, especially the willow trees. You just cut and they grow back. Naturally, those are the main things what I see. Otherwise, there is some need to keep those also to support biological diversity. For example, natural grassland, there is need for maintenance to keep it the most diverse environment. And then, yeah, I thought also about layer systems. What are those elements which are the most including this layer structure as the compost garden, human manure compost, vegetable garden, Google bed, the greenhouse, and food forest. About the edges, yeah, the windbreakers, which also are the hotspots for biodiversity. All of the edges, those points. One of that, for example, food forest could be where could be more edges developed and more curvy shapes, but it's sometimes hard to invent edges if there is already existing human made squared shapes, for example, buildings and such things. But there is always space to develop. And also talking about patterns, there is one really beautiful natural pattern on the site. They have a lime tree circle, and they really love that space also to relax there, to hang the hammocks and sleep and observe the canopy. And actually each of the tree or plant is one of that one who's yeah, showing this natural pattern there. And herb spiral also one element. What I can tell about whole process, the communication with the family was nice and easy, the smooth, but the process took for me longer than I expected because of this hard drive crash. And I think the best feedback of this project is that the project is already living his own life. The family is really taking this design as their good example. They have built already sauna house. They have built already what was that? The outdoor toilet, I think, is already built this year on the place where I designed. And the composting side also, the compost garden is placed where I suggested. So the plan is already living its own life and the family is really using it step by step. Yeah. And what I would do a bit different when I done this project, now I know that it's super important to store all of the files in very safe digital space. But I was very lucky, and what I learned from that if you have something important, then please share that with someone, because if there is this case when you lose, then from those which you shared, that's the option where you can gain back. And I was lucky that I shared all of this project with Sasha. I could restore them through the email or directly from him. But this one, which was on the process, yeah, I needed to do all the work from the beginning. And it was quite painful for me. But yeah, shortly I would say sharing is long-term saving. And what else? I think after this, I have a really good fundament for some other similar project to develop. I have nice structure. I know how to follow which of the steps, where to pay attention, for example, more. And what I would do a bit more next time, I would prepare, in addition, some little presentation with potential permaculture elements when I need to describe what is that, what you could have. It's always nice to show at least the picture, not only explained by words, because everyone has their own vision. And then when you have at least some picture in front and in different versions, then they understand better and then say, okay, I would like to have this, or no, this is not for me. Yeah. And this is the list of information what I used. And I think I have done with this project presenting. So it's time to, I think, give the word for next speakers. Thank you until now.